My name is Isabel Rocio Daniels. I am 33 years old. I have 3 children.
My name is Tristan Griffin. I was 18 when I had my first child, or my only child. He is 7 years old right now. I'm 25, and I am a paraprofessional at Plano City here.
My name is Cindy Guerra. I am 39 years old. I'll be 40 in July. I have 2 living children, 4 miscarriages. She plays the drums, I'm on tambourine. Betcha your bottom dollar on me. It's indie rock and roll for me.
What I mainly see is, while children are beautiful blessings, to have a baby so young certainly impedes the students' opportunities. If you have to raise a child, then you might not be able to handle that AP class or those AP classes or honors classes that are going to prepare you for college.
In 2013, 273,105 babies were born to women aged 15 through 19 years old. 30% of all teenage girls who drop out of school cite pregnancy and parenthood as key reasons. 2/3 of families started by teens are poor, and nearly 1 in 4 will depend on welfare within 3 years of a child's birth. Only about 2/3 of children born to teen mothers earn a high school diploma, compared to 81% of their peers with older parents. Only 1/3 of teenage mothers complete high school and receive their diplomas. By age 30, only 1.5% of women who had pregnancies as a teenager have a college degree. The daughters of teen mothers are 22% more likely than their peers to become teenage mothers. The United States has one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the Western industrialized world. And one of the main problems behind the issue of teenage pregnancy is the negative stigma associated with it.
I remember thinking I had a feeling that I might be pregnant because my cycle was late.
There was a little excitement, but also fear.
She says, well, these aren't the best circumstances to be in, but we'll just have to deal with it.
I was kind of happy and scared at the same time.
I had a full ride for football and found out at the end of my school year that I was having a child, so I didn't know if I should go pursue that or stay at home with the child.
That's pretty much all my mother said. My dad didn't say anything at all.
They talked about abortion, and then after a while it dimmed down and they were excited for the child.
I was confused, I was happy, I was scared. I knew everything was going to change.
So many young teenage mothers find themselves facing the challenges of being pregnant against expectations and pressure from their peers and society.
It's basically throwing your life away. You're still in school, you're still barely a kid, you're still learning. And it's just gonna end bad. It's just a boyfriend, nothing's said and done. You're not married with that person. For all you know, he or she could ditch you, and you're stuck with a baby for the rest of your life with no one else to help you. And it's just not good for you. You don't learn. I guess you kind of learn how to be independent, but you don't get the opportunity to actually, fully live your teenage years.
I feel like some kids aren't responsible enough to take care of their parts, I guess.
I feel like if it's one of those things that it might happen and it doesn't make the person like a bad person, because I feel like that's the whole stigma around it, that people you're a slut and you're not responsible, but I feel like that could happen to anyone, even if they're being safe, stuff happens. So.
birth control, condoms, all that stuff can help not lead to that. But I guess the 100% way to not get pregnant is not doing it. Keep your legs closed.
But it's funny because I think it's viewed on a little, if you weren't planning on it, it's viewed on a little bit more negative. But it's funny how once you have the baby, everybody wants to help, everybody wants to be supportive. It just doesn't even make sense. It's like, why aren't you like that to begin with? And you can see that in attitudes and how people come across, and I don't like that.
I think it's really difficult because you have to choose between either raising your kid, raising the child, or giving it up. And if you do decide to raise the child, you have to think about supporting it, if you're going to stay with the other parent of the child, how that's going to work out, the whole relationship, and then supporting them, having a job, whether you're going to go to college or not. Meanwhile, all juggling, raising the actual child. So I think it's definitely complicated.
However, society's viewpoints may have a more significant impact than just on a teenage parent's reputation. It also has an effect on his or her education.
I was in a child development class. If anything, I remember actually going back, and I just had him. And I remember one of my teachers praising me for studying and making good grades and being there, because it's not that hard being pregnant and going to school, unless you're high risk. But it is once you have the baby, because then you have to juggle schedules and sitting and studying and all that. It's harder to go back after you have the baby.
Well, I got pregnant pretty much the first semester of my junior year. I continued on to my regular school that semester, and then the following semester I did go to an alternative pregnancy school where everyone either was currently pregnant or already had a child. I finished that semester out of my junior, passed, and had her in the summer, and went back to my regular year in senior school at my home school.
I transferred. I went to University of North Texas after, just closer to home because I was in Oklahoma, and then came back closer to home, and I've been in school since.
I think it was just easier to be pregnant around them versus people who weren't and possibly were judging me for being pregnant.
I mean, college wasn't something that I had to finish right away. It wasn't like I was pregnant during high school. It was college. It was my second year. So I was halfway there. It really wasn't that big of a deal.
But what happens when someone supports the teenage parent during the pregnancy instead of bringing him or her down? A vastly different effect is achieved.
I have had my finest and brightest avid students get pregnant. And depending on the amount of support they have, that really affects how well they are able to juggle all of those factors. And so if they're already at a disability financially, or they don't have both mom and dad at home, or they don't have parent support, then that just makes it so much harder.
I think I told my close friends, but no one really cared one way or another.
Because we didn't go over there very often. And I remember the very first thing, this really stuck out. This I really do remember. As soon as I told them that I was pregnant, my mom said, well, you need insurance, health insurance. Like that was going to be a problem. not happy, congratulations, or sad or upset or nothing. It was just the fact that I needed health insurance.
Then we do have a lot of support in Plano. We have the early, we have the pregnant mom program, and then I believe we have like parenting classes for the mom and the dad, if they choose to take those together. There are all kinds of supports in PISD.
It was my best friend because I had ran away from home and I was living with her. And so I told her. I think she was happy.
Even though society typically views teenage pregnancy negatively, there is also a positive side. It can prove to be a learning experience for many teenage parents, one that helps them grow and one that provides valuable advice for their own children.
Don't let anybody down you, don't let your parents down you, and just work hard for that child.
I continued school and I graduated. The baby's father got a job at Subway. And I then had my senior year a work-study program that was business related, so that was my first job at UT Southwestern actually. Doing secretary work, so it didn't really affect anything.
Despite all the hardships, teenage parents still manage to build a life for themselves, and it is a life that they are happy to share with their children and the people around them.
I mean, there's no choice. Do you choose to be miserable or do you choose to be happy? It's a choice, and I'm very happy.
There really is a lot of support out there if you look for it. Whether it's sitter, financial, breastfeeding, clothes. There's so many resources out there, especially now. There's more now than there was when I was younger, and I'm sure there was lots there. So the support is there. Don't ever let that ever stop you from finishing school, no matter what family says, whether they're supportive or not. And then either way, you can always go back and finish. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's easier while you have the support, because when you don't have the support, it's a little bit harder. But either way, have your baby, enjoy your baby, enjoy your life, because once you have your baby, it will be clear your path. It will be your dreams are, make sense. Everything was so fuzzy for me, and I wasn't sure, and I knew it was, once you go to college, you'll figure it out. Well, once I had you, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what order I wanted to do it in. Everything just kind of made sense. And it's about not so much, life isn't measuring your success, but really your happiness. I can go back and think of all the happy moments that we had together, and I wouldn't ever give them up for the world. I wouldn't have changed it trying to plan it out. And if you're pregnant, great, because maybe later on you can't get pregnant. So while you're young, there's less risk than when you're older. So if you're healthy, and even if you're not, while you're young and have an education, you have that, that good spirit that you're just going to take care of it. Do it, because you have a lot more energy when you're younger than when you're older.